You're listening to the AdCast with your host, Eric Elliott.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you to a special episode of the AdCast. Today, I have an old friend, new friend, good friend, and he's a good friend. One of the most talented people I've ever met in this business. They call him Mr. Jingles, right? His name is Mr. Cary Reich. And Carey, let's give Carey a sound of applause today. A round of applause.
Thank you, Eric.
Awesome, Carey. So you are one of the go-to guys when it comes to creating a jingle or a musical signature. And I want the folks to know, Carey, what is it that you do, or what is a jingle? What is a jingle in a musical signature? What is that?
It's a great question. A jingle is a mnemonic device to what I like to tell people is make sure your first impression is a lasting impression. When you sing words to people, they're more likely to remember them. In advertising, I think it's some such 400% more memorable than the spoken word. If you think about it, we don't learn our ABCs by speaking them. In fact, very few people, if you ask them to say their ABCs, they couldn't because they will sing A, B, C, D, E, F, G. They use music.
Wow.
So music is a very powerful tool. In fact, I remember when my older daughter was in high school, she sang the order of the U.S. presidents to the tune of Yankee Doodle. And that's what helped her remember the order of the presidents for whatever, American government or U.S. history exam she had.
Wow.
That's how powerful music is. Often I do, when I do seminars and talk in groups, or when I am meeting with groups that are going to engage me to help with their clients. Like, as you know, we met at a TV station that hired me to come in and write jingles for your clients.
Correct.
And one of the things I do is I like to play TV themes and do a little name that tune. People remember and they visualize what was on the screen. They remember the show. They remember the theme. And I point out to people that when you have that memorable a message on your advertising, it's going to be more memorable.
Yeah.
It's going to break through the clutter, the thousands of messages today. Oh my God, there's hundreds of stations. There's thousands and thousands of messages that we are bombarded with every day. What music does is a way to break through that, get into the subconscious mind, and create that impression. So when someone is ready to do business with you, you're the name they think of. And that's what advertisers want. They're advertising to make sure that people know they're there and give them something to remember, because it's important. I tell people that, when you advertise, the reality is most listeners or viewers are not in the market for what you do.
Yep, that's true. Hey, it's Eric from the AdCast. What you just heard, it was some technical difficulties. Why? Because I think this conversation, it's breaking the internet. Stay tuned. Hey, so Carey, we're having some issues over on this side, and I think the reason we're having these issues is because you and I, we're breaking the internet right now. That's exactly what's happening, right? So I'm gonna look at this on the bright side. So Carey, where we left off, we were talking about, what is your approach like when you're approaching someone for the first time or approaching a brand for the first time?
Right. And again, I think that the key is, what do they want to accomplish? What are they looking to do? And I say that because, there are lots of different reasons people use jingles. If you think about, if you remember, Chili's was promoting a product. They had the baby back ribs.
Chili's
I
baby
got my
back ribs.
baby. That's right.
Yeah.
Some clients are promoting a website. Some clients are promoting a phone number. So it depends on what they're trying to do. So the first question is, what are you trying to accomplish? And ultimately, the goal of any good jingle is to create that top of mind, or what I like to say, make a first impression that's a lasting impression.
Absolutely.
Because, we've learned through the years, research shows that when people are ready to do business with somebody, typically they're going to go into their brain and find somebody they know or like, or somebody they already are familiar with.
That positioning in the mind.
Correct. Like 80%. And so my approach is you want something that is memorable. And the reason really is, and I may have said this before, but the reality is when you're on TV or on the radio or you're on social media,
Mm-hmm.
most of the people that are going to find an ad, which is different from them searching you out. But if you're just advertising to people, most of them really aren't ready today to make a decision to buy
That
from
is
you.
true. That is true.
So, so what what I talk about, and one of the things that I've heard over the years is, well, I don't have time to brand. I only have so many seconds. And I'm like, no, you don't have time not to brand, because there's two kinds of commercials. There's one that reaches today's buyer only, and there's one that reaches today's buyer and everybody else. And wouldn't you want it to be the everybody else, because you don't know what day that person's car is going to break down and now I need a new car.
That's true.
Or somebody has a blowout, now I need a tire. Their air conditioning isn't working, now I need air conditioning. So what you want to do is create, in as little as 3 to 5, maybe 6 seconds max, a signature that's memorable, that's going to get in their head, even subconsciously. If they're not even paying attention, it's going to get in their head, and create a place in the consumer's mind. Because they say there's only so many rungs, if you will, on the ladder that people can remember. So we need to know what it is we're trying to do, and then how we want to do that. And by how, I mean style and the feel. So I always start with, let's talk about the feel and the direction. If we have a slogan, because many of my clients, they have a slogan, and that's great. I'm not here to reinvent the wheel. I'm not here to change their slogan.
Yeah.
I'm just here to make it 400 to a melody. Now, if they don't have a slogan, then we're going to sit down and we're going to talk about what is unique. What is your unique selling proposition that's going to make someone want to do business with you? And don't tell me we offer great service, quick turnaround.
Right.
Everybody else says.
Remember, I mean, everyone expects you to have great service and a quick turnaround, depending on whatever your industry is.
Exactly.
Right.
And the other thing is, I always, because again, if it's a jingle, it's music. What kind of music? And I always start also with, I want to know not what you like. I love for you to like your jingle. I want you to love your jingle, but it's got to appeal to your target market,
Correct.
your audience. So if your audience is, 70-year-old seniors, you're probably not doing hip hop and rap. If you're a Western wear store, you're probably not singing to an opera.
Right.
Although J.G. Wentworth, in the day, they got that 877 cash. Now I can sing the number because
J.G.
it was
Wentworth.
877 cash. No, yeah, I didn't write that. Just full disclosure.
Right.
I run these. It's funny. I will tell you, the internet is the Wild Wild West, and there's like no rules. So I actually, in addition to the business that I do, how you and I met, which was through my partnerships with TV and radio stations around the country that hire me to help them with branding for their clients. I also do social media ads and on Facebook, and I often quote, a lot of times I'll quote and ask the question, and State Farm is on there, which I think most people, maybe not most people, but a lot of people know actually was written by Barry Manilow. And it's funny because people ask me, how'd you get into the business? I said, well, I want to be the next Barry Manilow.
Right.
And he got started in the jingles. And the younger the people are, the more blank stares I get, because they have no idea who Barry Manilow is.
Wow.
I've been doing this a long time.
Do you see jingles being used more now than they were back when they became popular in the 80s?
So there are ebbs and flows to jingles, but I think the value never goes away.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, like we said before, do you want an ad that people are going to remember and recognize and think of you first? So yeah, I mean, as long as there've been advertising, there've been jingles. I mean, the you can trust your car to the man who wears a star, the big red Texaco star, was a radio theme for the Texaco radio hour. The very first quote unquote jingle, as we've researched, was actually for the brand Wheaties that we all know and love. Wheaties was going under. They had they just were basically losing all kinds of market share. And some ad guy, I think it was in the Twin Cities, came up with this old time barbershop quartet jingle and they noticed in the charts of sales, why is it all of a sudden in the Twin Cities, Wheaties are flying off the shelf? And that was kind of, I think, the day that people realized, hey, there's something to these jingles. And it's interesting because, again, I think you asked before about what's a jingle, what's a musical signature,
right?
What's the difference?
Because some people don't know the difference between the two.
And truth is, there isn't a difference.
Hmm.
Now, let me back up. A musical signature, it may be and can be just music. If you think of Intel, da-da-da-da,
right.
And I actually, there's some research and studies about how that people have these just melodies. And if you're a large company with billions of dollars, you can probably brand with just a melody.
True.
But the goal of the lyric is to put the message to the words so that they recognize and think of you. And when you are the majority of the people I do business with, frankly, are small local businesses all over the country through my partners and through my advertising that I do in social media. Because, one of the things that if there was ever a silver lining to the environment we're in now is that virtual selling has become an acceptable norm.
Oh yeah. I don't see it going away anywhere soon.
I don't either. And the reality is, the days maybe of flying to Sioux Falls in February when it was 30 below to meet clients of a TV station out there, I can do it from the comfort of my studio and not have to go to Sioux Falls.
Yeah.
But the thing also is not everybody does TV and radio. Not everybody can afford to be on broadcast media.
Mm-hmm.
But today, with social media out there, and everybody knows that video is the king when it comes to posting, whether you're just posting on social media or you're running ads on social media, whether it be on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, wherever you're advertising.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you want to have the same powerful tool of a jingle? And that's where a lot of my clients now are going and coming from, especially the ones that respond to my social media ads. That's where they found me. That's what they're doing. And it really opens it up to having really more opportunities for people to create that first impression that's a lasting impression.
Wow. So I want to take a break, and then we're going to come back, and I want to talk about how people are finding you, and I want to talk about how you can utilize your jingles and which mediums are better that you've seen success on. All right?
Great questions.
This is the AdCast.
Today's show is sponsored in part by Craft Creative. Change your creative. Change your world with premium video production and graphic design. Get started by visiting wecraftcreative.com.
All right, I'm back on the AdCast with my guest, Mr. Cary Reich, and we were actually talking about, he brought up the topic of social media, which kind of goes into another topic, because when you and I met, we weren't talking about social media or even being found on social media, but look at what kind of world we're in now. So I want to ask you, Cary, what is the best medium that you feel, in your opinion, to utilize your jingle?
Well, so that's a really good question, and it depends on the client, frankly, and where they're doing their business.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're in a community where it's a fairly tight, geographic community,
mm-hmm.
and you have the budget and the wherewithal to be on your local television station, I mean, we've seen through all of, especially now through what's going on with COVID and all the research that you see from Nielsen and the other rating services, local broadcast, whether it be TV or radio, still is the dominant place to reach the most number of people. Now, if you're in a major metropolis and your realistic area of business is 5 miles, that might be a little overreach to be on broadcast television
mm-hmm.
when you only want to be serving people within a 5-mile radius.
Mm-hmm.
So it really, it makes a difference, because obviously the bigger the megaphone, the more people you reach. And a lot of it, the answer is less about how many people you want to reach than how many people do you need to reach for it to be a good return on investment. Because
right.
At the end of the day,
you don't need a million listeners, you need the right ones.
That's exactly right. But if you're paying for 1 million listeners, but we'll use a hypothetical. Let's say you're in a market and you're spending $5,000, even $10,000 in a month, what do you need back to make that a good investment?
Right.
And if the numbers bear themselves out based on how many people are in the market at any given time to call you and do business with you, then it's a good investment. And don't worry about the 95% that aren't your target market.
Right.
Because
Correct.
you're reaching your 5. Again, the biggest megaphone is still, I tell people sometimes we're, especially when I'm working with a television station, there may be a client out a little outside the major metro, but we are still the broadcast station for their community. And we are still able to reach their community. And again, it goes back to, depending on what I spend, how much do I need? One of my favorite examples, and this is more about dollars and cents than creative. I was presenting to a bathroom remodeler one time, and the station, it was a medium station, great station. They had asked him for $30,000 for the year, $2,500 a month. That's it. But his initial reaction, and this is after he'd already heard and loved what I created for him, he was like, "That's a lot of money." I said, "Well, what would you need back?" He said, "Well, I want a 10-to-1 return. I'd want $300,000 back." And my response to myself was, "Oh, that's a lot of money. Why did I ask that?" Until I remember to say, "Well, what is an average bathroom remodel?" He said, "It's $10,000. I said, "So what you're telling me is if you spend $3,000 in a month, you only need 3 people." We reach tens of thousands every morning. And, if you, and by the way, in this exercise, he already told us what percentage of people, it got down to, if 0.1% of the viewers that day, 0.1% of not just the viewers, but the percentage of viewers that he said were in the market for a new bath responded, he was making way more than 10-to-1 return.
Wow.
So that's why, and it really doesn't matter that you're reaching more people than you should. Now, back to reality. If I'm a stylist and I do hair and I'm in again, 3 to 5 mile radius, now I'm probably looking at either zoning, because there are, a little tighter. You can also geotag, as you know, in your social media. You can do streaming. I mean, it really is a whole new world where you can stream your commercial in front of somebody that's about to watch a show that is within 5 miles of your store.
Correct.
And still be on television, only it's streaming. It's not broadcasting to the entire, for instance, I'm in the Tampa Bay area. We got a lot of miles of Tampa Bay area to cover if you're on the broadcast station. But if I can now go on to a streaming where I'm still reaching people watching programs, or I am going to do Facebook ads. There's different ways. You can just be doing organic and doing posts every day, and hopefully people, but we know that posts only reach so many people.
Right.
Even when you boost it,
you got to put the money. You got to put the money behind it to really make it work. They're not giving you any more freebies. The platform's just too. It's too robust, and it works too well for them to give you freebies now. They want you to spend the money.
Absolutely. And so, for the smaller business, that's a great place, because whether you're on YouTube or doing Facebook, Instagram, the social media, now you're in front of, because if we can all figure out I call it voodoo, behind the curtain of who am I trying to reach? What is we call it, I guess, our avatar.
Right.
Who is our avatar? And can we create an audience that is most likely to want to do business with us? So that's try to, find the right people and then give them the message. So we have an opportunity where I've created a social media only, a digital only license for people.
Really?
Yeah, because if they're not broadcasting and they're not reaching as large an audience, and it just makes it more affordable, because, as I've said, video is king. We've seen this social media with video, telling the story. And what the Jingle allows them to do is still have that just 5-6 seconds at the beginning or the end, or both, depending on how long your message is, to create the message that's going to be heard by everyone, not just today's buyer.
It's actually a good way to be able to test something too. If someone has a traditional campaign that they're doing, and then you say, you know what, hey, you have a social media license, let's see exactly what the feedback is like. And if that client's saying, hey, a lot of people are hearing that jingle, well, guess what? It's only playing in one place. So that kind of tells you to feed the door that's screaming the loudest, right?
It's funny you mentioned that. I just had a request, and I'm not going to say who or where, because I can't believe in today's day and age this is still the measuring stick. But I have a TV station client of mine. They have a client, and they base all of their results on an assigned phone number on the TV spot. Now, you tell me, when's the last time you watched a TV commercial and before you called and remembered their phone number, you didn't go to your phone, to your tablet, to your computer, and you Googled the name of the company.
Correct.
And you looked it up. That's where the phone number was. And you called that number, and Google got credit for the fact that you just watched a TV commercial. It intrigued you enough. You didn't remember the phone number. You looked it up, and the TV station actually didn't get the credit. So I actually came up with an idea. Hey, I have a better idea. First of all, they asked me, let's sing our number, make it more memorable. Great, we can do that. I have better's the wrong word. I have another idea. Let's only sing a jingle on your station and have the advertising say, get $500 off when you call in, you need to sing our jingle. And the only place they heard the jingle, they didn't hear it on Google, they didn't hear it anywhere else but on your station. Now, stations got to be willing to put their money where their mouth is and know that they can deliver the results. But think about that. Now, somebody calls with the jingle, there's only one place the jingle ran. So to your point, it's a great measuring tool. But again, you have to be, and you don't have to sing it perfectly or well. You just have to, you're proving that your medium worked because it was the only place that the jingle ran, at least initially. I mean, I tell people you should run your jingle everywhere. It should be your on-hold music, on your website, your welcome video, anywhere and everywhere that there can be audio. You want to hear your jingle. I think that's really important. Mm-hmm. And again, it's creating that top of mind. So those are just a couple of things.
Can any business, have a jingle? Let's just say if it's a hospital or a law firm, and they say, you know what, I don't want to be cheesy. Can anyone have a jingle?
They can. And in fact, I was looking at your AdCast, and one of my older clients from many, many years ago was on there. I'm not going to mention names, but he's an attorney. And I know he had a phone number jingle, and I know he had another jingle that runs throughout a couple of states.
Yeah, I know.
But so attorneys, unless you're in a state where they tell you can't use jingles, and there actually are a few, although I think
you got me curious. You got me curious on which attorney it is.
You'll go look it up. You'll figure it out.
We've had a lot of attorneys.
Anyway, so it's funny you mentioned that. So we talked before about, you kind of segue perfectly for me into what's the difference between a jingle and a musical signature. Mm-hmm. So attorneys often are the biggest advertisers in town.
They are now. It's interesting. As I look back on even when I started, or I've been doing media for almost 20 years now. Gosh, it goes by quick. And it was all about the automotive dealer back then. Mm-hmm. It was all the automotive dealer. And then you saw, this is kind of why we do the automotive legal and the medical. It was the automotive dealer. And then you started seeing the lawyers do exactly what the car dealers used to do. So now the car dealers are moving towards more digital because they know car buying starts on the internet, not driving up and down the road and listening to the radio station and everything else. And then now you have the attorneys going more towards digital. And then now the hospitals, they are coming onto television. And so now healthcare is like a number 2, number 3 or 4 advertiser in most cases, so yep. It's almost like this progression, and everyone's trying to stand out and trying to go to the next thing or trying to figure out the best way to do or promote whatever they do.
Right. And the reality is, the good news for me, selfishly, is you can have a jingle on any of those platforms. And I'll go back to musical signature. I think I may have said before, if you ask the difference, and again, I think other than if somebody really is trying to do something that's just notes and music, although I'm not sure that I'm going to only use MasterCard because they have 4 new notes that you hear when you use your MasterCard. I mean, I get it, but I know that if I'm going to hear something and there's a melody, it's going to get stuck in my head. I'm not going to be stuck up all night playing those 4 notes in my head, but I might be up all night singing a melody. And that's one of the things I love telling people is if you're in a lot of people, as you know, love the early morning news because it's affordable. It's a place people are up in the morning. It's almost sometimes passive. So the TV's on because they're getting the news, weather, traffic. They're busy doing something else. They're still going to hear the message. But what happens then is now, instead of just a 30-second or 15-second message, it's in their head all day long. So we're just reinforcing the message and the brand. But so the hospital you mentioned, so they might want to hear a musical signature. But I will tell you, it's just as important. I've written many campaigns in the medical field, hospitals, healthcare, more retail, I guess, oriented than not. But I just did something for a radiology practice. People are wanting to get their brand out there. And there's no more powerful way, in my opinion, than obviously the music and the brand. And it's funny because when I sit down with an attorney, I usually ask them, I say, when I meet with attorneys, they usually fall into one of 3 camps. Well, the first is never in a million years will I have a jingle. Well, that camp, they're probably not in the room anyway because they didn't want to come hear what I had to say. But if they do, then the second is I want something, but I want it professional. I want some sincerity to it. I don't want my fellow colleagues making fun of me.
Sounds like you were in my meetings, Cary.
And then the other is the crazier the better. The crazier the better. 9999999. Okay, I just gave it away. So just think about that if you remember that. But I have another guy. He lip syncs to a country tune. And it's dial 3 for me, 3 for me, 333333333, and everybody knows because he's out there, he's lip syncing and he's playing, country. Now it's country in that case, but he's got a country jingle, he's got a hip hop jingle. We're actually talking about maybe doing some sort of Cajun Zydeco just for fun. The more you can, and he's having fun with it because listen, we get that in an immediate need. You've been in a wreck and you're hurt and you're not feeling good. That's you're not happy and that's gonna, you're gonna be in a different place. But most other people are not. It's like I actually have done campaigns. I know it's gonna sound silly, but I have for funeral homes, for cemeteries, because most of their advertising is for pre-need. And whether they're buying a pre-need plan or that sort of thing, or getting ahead so you're not dealing with it when your loved one passes away. But they're also obviously they want to create the top of mind. So when there is an at-need, they think of you. So, and back to what I said before, you want something that's going to appeal to your customer. You don't want it so crazy that it's going to turn them off.
That's correct.
But you do want something, and it's repetition and consistency. I mentioned before when I train or I meet with a sales staff that's going to go out and make appointments for me, one of the things I do is instead of playing jingles that everybody's heard, I play TV themes. And some are old and some are new. And the reason I do that, and they recognize the melodies instantly. And they remember the show. Often they visualize what was on the screen. And I tell them the reason I did that wasn't because I couldn't have played you a McDonald's jingle or a Coca-Cola jingle. It's because a lot of people think, oh, I've got to be on all the time and spend billions of dollars. But the reality is those shows, they were only on once a week.
That's true.
But every week.
That is true. That is true.
And now, we have these crazy things like TV Land and Nick at Night and all these other where it might be every day. But even every day, if you're in a small, medium-sized television market and you run in the early, let's just say morning news, great area, once a day, if you do that every day, you are going to create an identity and memorable, and it's not going to break the bank because of the consistency of it, because that's what happens, repetition. If you repeat the same thing over and over again, now your message, your offer, your sale can be different, but if you sing to them, it's going to be memorable. Another great category that I always like is is we call it OPM, other people's money. And what I mean by that is when there are co-op dollars. Great example is the heating and air conditioning industry, because many of the manufacturers, they want their name out there, they want their brand out there, and they're willing to help pay for the ad because they know on a television commercial, they're going to see the Trane, the Lennox, the Carrier, whatever it is. And a lot of advertisers say, well, I don't like using co-op because if I use co-op, the ad's all about the manufacturer. I said, yes, but if you sing the beginning and the end, or at least the end, now you've just taken a manufacturer's ad
and tied it to you.
Your ad. And
That's
made
true.
it your ad, because they're not gonna remember Carrier tomorrow. They're gonna remember, Dave's Heating and Air.
What's funny is we just partnered with a pretty large HVAC company that just came to us, and he was a beneficiary of one of your jingles from over 11 years ago, and he still uses it today.
Very cool.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah, no. It is awesome. I was hoping you had a new client for me, but it sounds like
So, okay, Carey, what we're going to do is we're going to go into what we call the lightning round, Carey.
Uh-oh.
All right. So when we go into this lightning round, and what we're going to do is I'm going to give you $1 million. I'm going to give you $1 million, Carey.
Okay.
Monopoly money or VIP money. And I want you, when I come back from this break, I want you to tell us how you're going to spend that money to market your services. Ready? This
Sure.
is the AdCast. We'll be right back. Hey, I'm Eric. You may wonder exactly what it is. Hey, I'm Eric it's me. It's me just giving you the authentic, the real, the 100% me, right? There are teams that I work with, VIP Marketing, which is one of the best marketing agencies in the country. And then there's also Craft Creative, which is also one of the best creative teams in the country. And here I am in the middle. I'm the guy that you want to be able to hire to come and speak at your next event, talk to you, or coach your team through whatever you're going through. So the next time you're thinking about how to get through what you're going through, go to heyimeric.com. All right, I am back with Mr. Cary Reich. And Cary, right before the break, I told you I'm going to give you $1 million. Now, here's the key. That $1 million that I'm going to give to you, I want to know what medium that you're going to use and how you are going to utilize jingles to promote a business. And you only have 60 seconds to do it. Are you ready? So
I'm ready.
Chris is going to keep the timer going here for us. And we're going to start right now.
I am the jingle writer, your top of mind provider. I write the songs that make the whole world buy. I write the songs that make them give you a try. If you're a business, I'm going to put that message, that jingle on TV where I can afford it, and I'm going to put it on social media because I know that people find me on social media. I'm going to reach out to every ad agency in America because I know that their clients need jingles. And I guess $1 million wouldn't get me on the Super Bowl, but maybe I would get on the Super Bowl one time just to say, hey, did you hear my jingle on the Super Bowl? And then I'm going to close with, I am the jingle writer, your top of mind provider, creating sound branding ideas. How'd I do?
You did good. You did it within 60 seconds. Give Cary a round of applause here. Good job, man. Good job. Did you come up with that on the top of your head, or was that planned?
No, I wrote that jingle. So I wrote that jingle after. So we mentioned social media, and I run social media ads.
Uh-huh.
The first social media comment that I've got is, dude, first they say you didn't write the State Farm jingle, which I never claimed to write.
Uh-huh.
I say, of course I wasn't. The second is that a picture of a studio behind you? Because I often do my ads behind a picture of a studio. And I say, absolutely. Thank you for noticing. Because I would never want to not have a studio, actually have an engineer at the board mixing and producing while I'm doing commercials. So it's a picture of the studio, and I stand in front of it. Yes, thank you for noticing. And then the other, because for a while I didn't, it's like, anybody think it's funny? The jingle dude doesn't have a jingle on his commercials. So now I actually have a jingle. It's produced, it's recorded, and I open and close my ads with the jingle. I mean, it only makes sense that I'm going to do that.
That's awesome
for myself.
That's awesome. So we're going to go in that lightning round now. Ready?
Okay.
All right. So in this lightning round, I want you to, I'm going to tell you about a medium, and I want you to tell me the pros and cons of each medium. And I will start out with radio.
Radio. Pros of radio is most people still have them in their car. A lot of offices still have them in the background. It is theater of the mind. So one of the pros, if there is a pro, is you actually don't have to, what people tell me often, when I'm a TV station, well, I love the jingle. What are we going to see? Picture's going to be? Well, radio, you don't have to come up with the pictures. You have to create in their mind the pictures. So radio gives you an opportunity to really be very creative. The other thing it is depending on who you are, you're closer to making a decision. So if it's 5 o'clock and you're a restaurant and I don't know what I'm doing for dinner yet, and I have an ad about dinner, I'm going to go buy food. And I'm going to go to that restaurant.
TV.
So that's the TV. Pros, it's visual. It's the biggest megaphone. It's going to reach the most people the most efficiently. It does have pictures, so you can create your story and you can show people if there's before and afters and visuals. So it's a great pro. If there's a negative is, again, it reaches a lot of people and maybe more than you need to reach.
Newspaper,
I would say, well, where? A lot of newspapers, ours is only printing twice a week, and it's all digital now. So it's a newspaper, but it's on my phone or it's on my tablet or my computer. It's very much today, people, one of the biggest pros clearly is older. Because the older the demographic, the more they like their newspaper and they like their newspaper. And oh, by the way, with a QR code, I wanted to get that in earlier. If you have a QR code, you can turn your print ad into a radio or TV ad, because that QR code with their phone, they can go, boom, there it is. And you can have a welcome video with, guess what? Your jingle. I can make your print sing. So that's how's that for newspaper?
Pretty cool. Outdoor.
Outdoor. Again, it's, I think that the pro of outdoor is directional. It's near the business. Ideally, I've understood that if you don't have I think, what is it, a 50 share where you're going to reach 50% of your audience with enough boards, so it can be expensive. The thing that I've never understood, and don't get mad at me, the outdoor people, why do you charge more for an ad that's on less? I understand that visually rotating digital billboards might be eye-catching, but I can't tell you how many times that eye-catching went away when I was ready to say, what is that and who is that? And they charge more for it. I never understood that. And there's no audio.
Social media.
Social media. Pros of social media. Very targeted, very focused. You can, in some cases, the social media doesn't cost anything. Because if you're doing it right and you learn how to do it right, you're posting, you're getting in front of people, and it's organic. But even the paid ads, you're getting targeted to the people, you're hitting them. And I hate to say it, but there's AI out there, which means if somebody says something about, I've seen this happen, hey, we need a jingle, and guess what? My ad shows up in their feed. That's a little scary, I know, but that's one of the advantages of social media. Disadvantage, again, I think, well, first of all, I think we're all on them too much. So sometimes people get burnt out and they feel spammy and scammy, and you don't want to do that. And older, even though it's the fastest growing audience, the older someone is, probably the less likely they're doing those.
Out of each of those social medias that are out there, which one do you feel is more effective and why?
Ooh, that's a great question. I think I'm going to go back to it depends. So if I'm a how-to and I am somebody that can be an expert, I might want to be on YouTube, because I might want to, number one, have a YouTube channel where I have tips and tricks and how to do, but I'm also going to show up when people search for what it is I do. Because it's all about, if we're talking about organic search and SEO, then it's being where people are going to be looking for what I do, and then I show up. As far as the social media, again, I think in some cases it's age demographic. If I'm looking for younger kids, younger people, I might be doing TikTok. If I'm looking for older people, because what do they say? Facebook. Oh, Dad, Facebook's for the older people. I might be on Facebook, might be on Instagram. Where do you want your story told? Twitter. I mean, all of these are, I think it's about who you're trying to reach and where you're going to find the most people the most efficiently. They all have their pluses and minuses.
That is true. That is true. And Carey, I want to thank you for that. Let's going to give Carey a final round of applause there. Carey, you knocked it out of the park. You're a great guest, and love the conversation, man. Love the conversation. It's been too long, and it's all my fault on why we hadn't caught up in a while. So I want to thank you for being our guest. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank Cary Reich for being our guest. So, Carey, what's next for you? What's on the horizon?
I, after much delay, self-inflicted delay, am launching. I'm actually going to start populating and launching my YouTube channel. And on my YouTube channel, we're going to have some of what we talked about. So I haven't quite gotten the frequency down yet, part of the issue, but we're going to have educational, where, when, and why to use a jingle, how we create jingles. I'm also going to do a feature where I'm going to feature a new client, and we're going to talk about what we were trying to accomplish, how we came up, what we did, and we're going to play. Ideally, there'll be a video of some sort. So because it's on YouTube, where we'll play the jingle and then have an opportunity to talk about what it's done for their business. That's another piece. Another thing that I'm doing, because when I said I want to be the next Barry Manilow way back at the beginning of this, it was because I want to be the next Barry Manilow, Billy Joel, Elton John, and YouTube is going to give me an opportunity. I don't know that I'm ready to tour the country and the world, but I'm going to be featuring the musings of a jingle writer and just writing and recording, really making up songs and melodies on the piano for entertainment. And then the last is kind of sort of, I'm glad you didn't take me down this road, is I'm going to, you've seen that YouTube guys with the Will It Blend, I think is the name of the show, where people say, well, if you put so could you put a cell phone? There's just different things. I'm going to do a Will It jingle. So people can invite themselves to say, here's a category. It's pretty cool. What would you do with that jingle? And just having fun. And, one of them I thought would be fun. And then Voice to Men showed up on a, one of those commercials for the a pharmaceutical ad. And I was like, really? They stole my idea. And by the way, I now know why they have all those ridiculous, have nothing to do with the product, visuals on all the pharmaceutical ads. Because the other day I happened to be on a radio station, and it was, I forget what the ad, I don't remember, is I got a few seconds of the name of the product, and then 40 seconds of the disclaimers that you have to run about how it could kill you, and then maybe the name of the product, and it was on the radio. And I'm thinking, oh my God. And I realized that's why they have these people surfing, and they're out in the mountains, and they're walking at the park, and they're doing all these things other than talking about the product, because during those pretty shots, they're saying all the things that the drug could do for you. And why are they doing it? They're doing it because the lifespan of the patent is shorter and shorter, and they want you to remember their brand, and they're willing to put all the disclaimers in the ad so that they can put the ad on TV to create the brand recognition. And the irony is, when's the last time you went and bought any of those on your own? It's the doctor who's prescribing it. They're still wanting to create top of mind and comfort.
And they'll say, ask your doctor. And if you can't do this, we'll provide it for you.
That's exactly right. So, it's kind of crazy. But, so the Will It jingle, that should be fun. That'll be coming soon, too.
That'll be awesome, man. I look forward to seeing that. I also want to thank our production and content team, Craft Creative, for being an awesome studio sponsor. We had some hiccups in earlier in the show, but I think it's because we broke the internet. That's what we do. That's what I'm going to claim.
The internet.
There you go. I also want to thank our listeners for tuning into the AdCast, the podcast for marketers and advertisers. We appreciate you giving us your most valuable asset, which is your time. And if you feel this podcast has been a help to you or could be a help to others, please don't forget to subscribe. And you can listen to our podcast anywhere: iHeart, Spotify, Apple Music, Stitcher, or anywhere you listen to your favorite podcasts. And to catch up on past episodes, go to heyi'meric.com. I want to thank you again, Cary Reich, for being an incredible guest. This is the AdCast.